If you've ever found yourself, staring blankly at a complex personal decision or just trying to figure out the right way to handle a tricky situation, maybe wishing you had some kind of clearer internal map for just navigating life, well, then you are definitely in the right place.
We've all been there.
Totally. Those moments when life definitely doesn't give you that neat instruction manual.
Right. No IKEA guide for putting together a fulfilling life.
Exactly. No troubleshooting section for when your emotions are making that weird clumping noise. And definitely no 24/7 customer support line for when things just go sideways. It's
Good to know.
messy, right, and beautiful, but sometimes just baffling.
It really is a journey.
It is. So today we're doing a focused deep dive. We're looking at two really foundational qualities from the cognizant life, the art of skillful living framework. And these aren't just, abstract ideas floating around. Think of them more like primary colors on your life's canvas. They're essential ingredients if you want to craft a life that feels more authentic, more resilient, and, well, deeply fulfilling.
Absolutely.
Our mission today, we're exploring the power of insight and living with integrity. We want to unpack how these principles can really illuminate your inner world, sharpen your decision-making, and help you build those truly authentic, trusting relationships we all crave.
And what's really fascinating here, I think, is how deeply these two qualities are connected, almost, symbiotically.
Yeah, how so?
Well, insight gives us the clarity to see, to really understand ourselves, others, the situations we're in, with real depth
Okay.
and integrity. That's the compass, the unwavering guide, that sort of internal gyroscope that lets us act in line with what our insight shows us is true and right.
I see. Seeing and then doing based on what you see.
Precisely. And this brings up a really important question for anyone on this path.
Yeah.
How do we actually consciously cultivate these inner engines? Because they really shape how we show up in the world, not just sometimes, but consistently.
Right, it's not like you're just born with them or not.
Exactly. Our exploration today, based on the cognizant life material, shows these are dynamic qualities we can develop. They act like powerful multipliers for a well-lived life. They help us move from just reacting to life,
Which is exhausting.
totally exhausting, to becoming a more aware, more skillful, and, well, more cognizant artist of our own existence.
I love that, the artist of our own existence. Okay, so by the end of this deep dive, our goal is for you, the listener, to have a much clearer, maybe more nuanced grasp of what insight and integrity actually mean day to day, why they're so critical, and crucially, some practical ways you can start cultivating them for more skillful living. We're talking about moving beyond that feeling of just winging it all the time.
Hoping you don't burn the toast.
Huh, exactly. Hoping you don't accidentally set the metaphorical kitchen on fire while making toast. Moving from that to really becoming the intentional architect of your own well-being and relationships. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Like-
Let's dive in.
Okay, so let's start with the power of insight, seeing your life clearly. Now, when we talk about insight, we're definitely not just talking about, like, IQ points or knowing a bunch of facts.
Yeah, not at all.
Knowledge is useful, sure, but insight, it goes way deeper. It's this capacity for profound, really penetrating understanding, like having X-ray vision for situations or maybe for your own soul.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's the ability to see beyond the surface, beyond the immediate frustrations that make you want to scream.
We've all felt those.
Absolutely. Or those confusing interactions where you're left thinking, what just happened there? Or even those recurring personal challenges, the patterns that seem to follow you around.
Like a shadow, yeah.
Exactly. Insight means grasping the underlying dynamics, what's really going on beneath the surface.
Okay.
It's about perceiving those unspoken currents of emotion in yourself and in others. It's about bringing hidden assumptions, things you didn't even know you believed, out into the light. And discerning those subtle, often invisible connections that link events and relationships together. Think of those sudden flashes, those aha moments.
Oh, yeah, I know those.
Right, where suddenly complexity just crystallizes into clarity.
It's like a puzzle piece clicking into place.
Precisely. That moment when a path forward through a dilemma, one you couldn't see at all before, suddenly seems obvious. Or a solution to a problem that's been nagging you for weeks just appears.
Or you finally understand something about yourself or a relationship that was right there but hidden.
Exactly. So, for anyone trying to live more skillfully, cultivating insight is kind of like developing a new set of eyes. Or maybe it's more about learning to use the eyes you already have with much greater sharpness, depth, and wisdom.
That makes a lot of sense. To make this more concrete, the cognizant life material uses this great analogy of Alara, the seasoned gardener.
Ah, yes, Alara. She's a wonderful illustration.
So her success isn't just because she knows her soil types or plant facts or checks the weather forecast religiously. I mean, obviously, that practical stuff is essential.
Of course. You need the basics.
But her mastery, her ability to consistently coax vibrant life out of the earth, that comes from something deeper. It's described as this highly developed, almost intuitive feel for the garden itself.
That's the key. She feels the ecosystem. She knows almost instinctively how the soil breathes after rain. She sees how different plants react to tiny shifts in sun or shade during the day.
Wow.
And she can spot those almost invisible signs of thirst or the very first hint of a disease long before someone just casually walking by would notice anything wrong.
So she's really tuned in.
Deeply tuned in. She understands the behavior of beneficial insects versus pests, their roles in the whole system. It's this deep, living understanding of how everything in her garden is connected.
That's incredible. So how does that connect back to us living our lives?
Well, think about it. Alara's insight allows her to make these really nuanced adjustments. She waters just enough, prunes at the right moment, anticipates problems before they become big, damaging issues.
Right, she's proactive, not just reactive.
Exactly. And that deep understanding didn't just appear overnight. It came from years of consistent, keen observation. Thousands of hours of quiet watching, thinking, reflecting, especially after things went wrong, not just when they went right.
Learning from failures, too.
Crucial.
Yep.
And a real humility, a commitment to keep learning from the garden itself. So our cultivated insight, in the same way, helps us foster a vibrant, resilient, and fruitful life. It lets us navigate the complexities of our own inner landscapes and our relationships with that same kind of intuitive skill.
Okay, so practically speaking, what does developing this insight mean for me, for you, for the listener? You mentioned fewer stuck moments.
Yes. It means fewer moments where you're stuck looking at a complex problem through that tiny keyhole, feeling overwhelmed or confused.
I hate that feeling.
We all do.
Yeah.
And more moments where you can step back and see the whole field, all the interconnected parts, the opportunities, the challenges, the context.
Got it. So a wider perspective, that's a
Yeah.
big benefit.
Huge. Think about how often a lack of perspective narrows our vision. Like that argument with a family member, if you're looking through the keyhole, you only see the immediate angry words or your own hurt feelings.
Right, and then you react to just that.
Exactly. You might overreact because it feels enormous, or you miss chances to connect because you just focus on being right, or the annoying thing they just said.
Okay, so insight widens the view.
Dramatically. It's like switching from that magnifying glass, great for looking closely at one tiny detail, one frustration, to pulling back for a panoramic view.
Seeing the whole landscape.
The whole landscape of your life and relationships. You see the history, the patterns, maybe the unspoken needs driving someone's behavior, the broader context.
That sounds crucial for making better decisions.
Absolutely critical. For wise decision-making in your personal life, for finding creative solutions in relationships that actually last, and for developing real empathy and fairness.
Because you're seeing more than just your own side.
Precisely. It lets you make choices that aren't just based on immediate emotions or what feels easiest right now, but choices that are wiser, more ethically sound, and genuinely better for your long-term well-being and the health of your relationships. You start seeing possibilities you literally couldn't see before.
Okay, so widening perspective. What else does insight bring?
Well, that wider view naturally leads to a deeper understanding of interconnectedness. And importantly, a greater ability to actually embrace change, not just grit your teeth and tolerate it.
Interconnectedness. You mean like everything affects everything else?
Pretty much, yeah. A core idea in cognizant life is that nothing happens in isolation.
Okay.
Nothing. Take a decision about your health. Maybe you start skipping sleep to work late.
Seems productive at first.
Right. But then,
Right.
what happens? It affects your mood, right? Then your interactions with people suffer. Your energy crashes. Your overall well-being takes a hit. That one small decision sends ripples everywhere.
Okay, I can see that. Small choices, big impacts down the line.
Exactly. And insight helps you start recognizing these intricate connections much more clearly. You develop a kind of systems thinking about your own life.
Systems thinking, like seeing my life as a whole system.
Yes. Instead of seeing your health, your mind, your relationships, your work, your growth as separate boxes.
Which I totally do sometimes.
Most of us do. But with insight, you see it as one complex, dynamic, living ecosystem. Everything influences everything else.
So if I'm stuck on a decision, maybe I shouldn't just focus on the decision itself.
Right. A systems thinker might ask, how is this indecision affecting my sleep? Is it creating tension with my partner? Is it draining energy I need for other things? Understanding those connections helps you tackle the root causes, not just the surface symptom.
Which leads to better choices overall because you're considering the whole picture.
Much more thoughtful and effective choices, yes. You're aware of the potential ripple effects across your entire life system.
And this connects to embracing change how?
Well, if you truly grasp that everything is connected and constantly shifting and influencing everything else, then change isn't some weird interruption to be scared of.
It's just the way things are.
It's the natural inherent state of any living system, including your life. The question then becomes, as the material puts it, are we trying to cling on to some static reality that doesn't actually exist?
Like trying to freeze time.
Yeah. Or are we learning to flow with the river of change, finding new paths and energy in its constant movement?
Okay, I like the river analogy. So resisting change is like
Trying to build a dam against a powerful river with just your bare hands.
exhausting and pointless.
Utterly. You're fighting a natural force. But someone with insight learns to watch the river, respect its flow. They don't try to stop it. They learn to navigate skillfully.
Finding the currents, avoiding the rocks.
Exactly. Adapting, maybe even using the river's energy to move forward. It's a big shift from fighting change to skillfully engaging with it. Insight helps you see change not as a threat, but as a natural, often valuable part of growth and learning.
Okay, this is deep stuff. Widening perspective, seeing connections, embracing change. But you also mentioned something about biases. This is where it gets personal, right?
Oh, definitely.
Right.
This is where insight gets really interesting and maybe a bit uncomfortable sometimes.
Uh-oh.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Because insight isn't just about understanding big external systems or having grand revelations. It's profoundly about becoming a detective of your own mind.
My own mind.
Yes, uncovering those hidden biases and unexamined assumptions that might be quietly running the show without you even realizing it.
Wait, like unconscious biases? We all have those.
Absolutely. We all do. It's just how our brains work. We're flooded with information constantly, right? So to cope, our brains take mental shortcuts. They're called heuristics. Quick judgments based on past experiences or beliefs.
Sounds efficient.
It can be, for simple things. Saves energy.
Yeah.
But in complex situations, especially with people, these shortcuts can lead to major errors in how we see things and really flawed decisions.
It's like what kind of shortcuts?
Well, think about confirmation bias, where we unconsciously look for information that just confirms what we already think.
Oh, yeah, I do that.
We all do. Or anchoring bias, getting stuck on the first piece of information you hear. These aren't bad intentions, they're just brain shortcuts that can lead us off track.
So how does insight help here?
Insight, especially when cultivated through things like mindfulness or self-reflection, acts like a spotlight. It shines a light on these hidden biases and assumptions.
Bringing them out of the dark.
Exactly. Bringing them into conscious awareness, maybe for the first time. And once you can see these filters,
Then you can question them.
precisely,
Right.
you gain the crucial ability to question them, examine where they came from, and start to lessen their distorting effects. It's like realizing you've been wearing sunglasses indoors and suddenly taking them off.
Seeing things as they really are, or closer to it. Wow. Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we cultivate this insight day to day? It sounds powerful, but maybe a bit abstract.
It becomes very practical. The first step is simple but profound. Become a curious and non-judgmental observer of your own thinking.
Okay, observe my thoughts. Yeah.
Just develop the habit of stepping back from your immediate thoughts and feelings, almost like you're watching them float by, like a curious scientist.
Without judging them.
That's key. No harsh criticism. When a strong opinion or a quick judgment pops up, just pause. Ask yourself gently, why do I believe that? Is that based on facts? Or is it more of a feeling or an old story? What if my first take isn't the whole picture? Are there other ways to see this?
So it's like checking your own thinking.
Gently checking, yeah. It's about expanding your mental viewpoint. Here's a tiny challenge. Just for 5 minutes today, notice 3 thoughts that keep popping up. Don't analyze, don't change them. Just notice.
Okay, I can try that. Just observe. What's next?
Second, actively seek out, value, and try to integrate diverse perspectives. This directly challenges those biases we just talked about.
So talk to people who think differently.
Yes. Make a real effort. Ask people with different backgrounds, different viewpoints, different ways of approaching things. Hey, what's your take on this? What am I missing?
And the key is really listening.
Really listening, not just waiting to talk, not just looking for proof you're right. Listening to actually understand their world. It actively counterbalances your own ingrained viewpoint. Maybe ask one person this week for a perspective you might be missing on something, and just listen.
Okay, seek diverse views. Got it.
Third, and this fights against those knee-jerk reactions. Slow down critical personal decision-making whenever you can.
Resist the urge to react instantly.
Exactly. Life throws stuff at us fast, but for important things, create space. The Cognizant Life material uses the P.R.E.P framework.
P.R.E.P.
P-pause. Just take a breath, step back from the emotion. Reflect. What are my motives? Biases. What do I need to know? E, engage. Gather info, talk to people, explore options. P, proceed. Make the choice consciously, not rushed.
Pause, reflect, engage, proceed. P.R.E.P. I like that. It builds in thinking time.
It does. Try it on one moderately important decision this week. See how it feels.
Okay. And the last practical step.
And maybe the most, well, beautiful one. Practice deep empathy and deliberate perspective-taking in your relationships.
Going beyond just walking in their shoes.
Yes, making a genuine, heartfelt effort to understand someone else's world, their perspective, their feelings, their core needs. Even if you totally disagree with them.
How do you do that?
Ask open-ended questions. Help me understand what that was like for you, or what's really important to you here. And then, truly listen. Listen to feel what they might be feeling, not just to plan your response.
Wow. That takes effort.
It does. But becoming more aware of our own mental shortcuts and the different ways people see things allows us to make fairer, more objective choices for ourselves and for others. It deepens insight into just being human.
Okay, that's a lot on insight. Seeing clearly, understanding dynamics, biases. Now, let's shift gears. Let's talk about living with integrity, aligning your actions with your values.
Yes, if insight is about seeing clearly, integrity is about acting clearly and consistently. Being whole.
Being whole. What does that mean exactly?
It means integrity isn't some, abstract ideal for saints. It's incredibly practical.
Yeah.
It's that inner consistency that builds real self-respect, and it cultivates genuine, lasting trust in your relationships. And let's be real, trust is like the essential currency of an authentic life.
Yeah, without trust, relationships really struggle. So integrity is the bedrock.
The unwavering bedrock of self-trust, of authenticity, of ethical strength. It's this profound dynamic alignment.
Alignment between what?
Between your innermost values and principles, what you truly believe deep down, and everything you do on the outside. Your actions, your words, your decisions, even your unspoken intentions.
So inner beliefs matching outer actions.
Exactly. Being whole, undivided, consistent, being principled.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker, especially when it's hard.
Not just when it's easy or convenient.
Precisely. When there's pressure to compromise, or when you think nobody would even know if you cut a corner, integrity is choosing the right thing even then.
Like that Oprah quote.
Exactly. Real integrity is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody's going to know whether you do it or not. It's that internal compass staying true no matter what.
Okay, so it's about internal consistency, even when no one's looking. How does that show up?
Think of a really sturdy, ancient oak tree.
Okay, big ol' oak tree.
Right. Its integrity is in its solid trunk, its deep roots holding it firm. It can withstand storms, high winds. It provides stability year after year. It just is what it is, solid and true.
So a person with integrity is like that oak.
Very much so. They're reliable, strong, consistent, deeply rooted in their values. You know that friend you can always count on.
Yeah, the one whose yes means yes and no means no.
Exactly. Their words and actions match up. Their character feels solid. They're the human equivalent of that oak tree.
Strong, steady, dependable.
Dependable. Their friends, family, colleagues, they can rely on them because there's no gap. No big difference between what they say they believe and how they actually live.
That consistency builds trust.
Unshakable trust.
Yeah.
And deep self-respect, too. It's the opposite of, say, a tree that looks fine outside but is hollow inside and crumbles under pressure.
Okay, so integrity means being solid all the way through. Where does this start? How do we build that oak tree strength?
Well, at the core is consistent, ethical, personal conduct. And this isn't just about following external rules. It's about cultivating and regularly checking in with an inner moral compass.
An inner guide.
Yes, one that quietly guides your decisions and interactions, big and small. Because life throws complex situations at us all the time, right? Where the right thing isn't obvious.
Yeah, those gray areas.
Exactly. Competing values create dilemmas. Social pressure might tempt you to take a shortcut. Or maybe your own desires pull you towards something ethically fuzzy.
Like, do I fudge the truth a little to avoid conflict? Do I stay silent when I see something unfair?
Those are perfect examples. Ethical conduct? Rooted in integrity means navigating those murky waters with a firm commitment to principles like fairness, honesty, transparency, responsibility, and respect, even when it's uncomfortable.
It takes courage sometimes.
Definitely, it requires the courage to choose the harder right over the easier wrong. The Cognizant Life material uses Maria's story here.
Ah, yes, Maria and her friend. Remind us.
So Maria realizes a close friend is being subtly, kind of sneakily, taken advantage of financially by someone else in their social circle.
Oof, awkward situation.
Very awkward. Confronting it could cause drama, maybe alienate people. It would be so much easier to just look the other way, pretend she didn't notice.
The path of least resistance.
Totally. But here's the integrity part. Maria's deep value of fairness and her sense of purpose, being a loyal friend standing against injustice, clashed with that temptation to avoid discomfort.
So her values wouldn't let her stay silent.
Exactly. Someone with weaker integrity might have ignored it, rationalized it away. But Maria, rooted in her purpose, chose the more courageous path.
What does she do?
First, she paused and reflected. Acknowledged the social risks, but weighed them against her friend's situation and her own convictions. Then she gathered insight, maybe observed more, got context carefully.
Okay, insight first.
Then she acted ethically. She spoke to her friend privately, with kindness and empathy, sharing specific observations, empowering her friend without telling her what to do.
That sounds skillful.
Very. And importantly, she also subtly distanced herself from the person doing the exploiting, making her own ethical boundaries clear through her actions.
So she walked her talk.
Completely.
Her?
It was tough, no doubt. But her actions perfectly aligned with her integrity and purpose. The result? Deeper friendship based on trust, and she maintained her self-respect.
That's powerful. It shows integrity isn't about avoiding difficulty, but choosing the right path, even when it is difficult.
Precisely. And her story highlights how purpose and integrity guide those tough personal choices.
Okay, so ethical conduct is key. What else is a major part of living with integrity?
Authentic communication in our relationships is huge. How we use our words.
Words build bridges or walls, right?
Exactly. They're incredibly powerful. Authentic communication, driven by integrity, is way more than just being articulate.
What does it involve?
First, speaking truthfully and transparently. A real commitment to honesty with people you care about. And it's more than just not telling lies.
Oh, what else?
It's having the courage to share your thoughts and feelings openly, appropriately, even when it feels vulnerable. Being clear about your needs or boundaries, admitting when you don't know something instead of bluffing.
Resisting the urge to spin things.
Exactly. No manipulation, however subtle.
Yeah.
Transparency builds trust because it shows you respect the other person enough to handle the truth. You might ask yourself, am I being as honest as I can be here, given the situation and relationship?
Okay, truthful speaking. What about the other side? Listening.
Crucial. Active and empathetic listening is a profound act of integrity. Communication integrity isn't just about output, it's about intake.
How you receive information.
Yes. Truly hearing, acknowledging, making a real effort to understand someone else's world, their perspective, feelings, needs, even when you disagree completely.
Especially when you disagree.
That's often the hardest. It shows you value them, not just their agreement. It creates space for them to feel seen. You could ask yourself, am I really listening to understand or just waiting to talk? Am I assuming I know what they mean?
Listening with full attention.
With your full attention, yes. And then critically, there's the unwavering alignment of words and actions.
Walking your talk.
The ultimate litmus test. If you say you'll support a friend, but your actions show you're never really there,
Trust dies.
it erodes fast. If you talk about kindness, but act impatiently with family, that gap is obvious.
The inconsistency is jarring.
Very. People with integrity strive for that congruence. Their actions prove their words and values. That builds psychological safety, respect, deep trust. You might reflect. If people judge me only by my actions, would they see someone they can truly rely on?
That's a tough question. Okay, so ethical conduct, authentic communication. What about when things get really tough, like in difficult conversations?
Ah, yes. Those are inevitable, aren't they? And they demand huge integrity.
How so?
Because the temptation is high to avoid them or handle them poorly, get defensive, attack, blame. Integrity means navigating them constructively.
How do we do that?
It starts with thorough preparation and having a constructive intention. Before you dive in, get your facts straight. Reflect on your emotions and biases. What's a positive outcome you genuinely hope for? What's the core message?
So prepare yourself first.
Yes. Then, during the conversation, uphold unconditional respect and practice deep empathy. Even if you're delivering tough news, treat the person with dignity.
Hmm?
Try to understand their feelings. Acknowledge the difficulty. I know this is tough for both of us.
Okay, respect and empathy. What else?
Combine directness with compassion. Be clear and specific about the issue. No vague accusations. But deliver it kindly. Focus on the behavior or the issue, not the person's character. I noticed X happened, and the impact was Y, not you're always so careless.
Behavior, not character. Got it.
And keep the focus on solutions, learning, growth. Frame it collaboratively. What can we learn from this? How can we work together on this going forward? It invites partnership, not war.
Less blame, more problem solving.
Exactly. And finally, maybe the hardest part, listen actively, openly, without defensiveness. Let them speak fully. Try to really understand their viewpoint, even if you disagree.
Wow.
Validate their right to feel how they feel.
That takes real self-control when you feel attacked.
It does.
What?
Which brings up that question. Are we going in defensively, just trying to protect ourselves or win? Or are we genuinely seeking understanding and resolution? Integrity demands the latter, even when it's uncomfortable.
And this relates to feedback, too.
Absolutely. Giving feedback with integrity means being honest, specific, constructive, timely, supportive. It's a gift for growth. And receiving feedback with integrity means being open, non-defensive, gracious, even if it stings, seeing it as a gift, not an attack.
That's a huge part of trusting relationships.
Huge. Ultimately, living with integrity isn't about being perfect. We'll all stumble.
We're human.
Exactly. It's about the consistent, conscious, courageous effort to align your life thoughts, words, actions with your deepest values. It's the courage to be authentic, even when vulnerable. The discipline to be consistent, even when inconvenient, and the compassion to be human with yourself and others, knowing it's an ongoing journey.
It's about building that self-respect and trust, one conscious choice at a time.
That's it precisely.
Wow. So we've covered a lot. We've unpacked the power of insight, seeing clearly, understanding dynamics, spotting biases, those aha moments.
Illuminating the path.
Right. And we've explored the bedrock of integrity, that alignment of values and actions, authentic communication, ethical conduct, building that unshakable trust.
Keeping you firmly rooted.
Exactly. So how do these two, insight and integrity, really work together in this whole cognizant life art?
Well, they aren't just separate virtues running in parallel. They are deeply, essentially interconnected. Think of them as the internal operating system for skillful living.
Okay.
You really can't live with deep integrity without the insight to understand your own values clearly. Or the insight to see the nuances of a situation and anticipate the ethical tests coming your way.
So insight helps you know what your integrity demands.
Precisely. For instance, understanding your own hidden biases, that's insight, is absolutely crucial if you want to act with genuine fairness and honesty, which is integrity.
Makes sense. And does it work the other way too?
Yes. Your insight gets stronger when you consistently act with the clarity and courage that integrity provides. When you live in alignment with your values, you gain a clearer, more authentic understanding of who you truly are and what matters most. That reinforces your insight into yourself.
So they feed each other. Insight clarifies the path. Integrity walks it, and walking it deepens the insight.
Beautifully put. They're two sides of a very powerful coin.
Okay. So the journey of cultivating both insight and integrity, it really starts and continues right now. It's not like a destination you arrive at.
No, it's a dynamic, ongoing practice.
Right. Well, we really hope this deep dive helps you, our listener, continue crafting your own vibrant, skillful, and deeply authentic life, your own work of art. And as you go about your day today, maybe consider this. When was the last time you had one of those significant aha moments about yourself, a relationship, a tricky situation? What clarity did that insight bring you?
And maybe also ask, in what small, maybe seemingly insignificant way can you choose to align your words or actions with a core value you hold dear just today?
Because it's those small, consistent efforts, right? Those are the brushstrokes that create the masterpiece. Remember, the artistry of life isn't usually in the grand, dramatic gestures. It's in the steady accumulation of conscious choices, day by day. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep living with intention.